Hello everyone. Today we will be going to start with a new topic that is general anatomy. Here we will be looking at all the superficial features that are important for studying the main course that is upper limb, lower limb, thorax, abdomen. So for this regions we should be knowing all the superficial features and that features I'll be telling you in this lecture. This general anatomy will be continued for at least 7 to 8 lectures to complete all the topics related. This is the lecture number one that we are going to start now. So let's get started. The first question which arises when I am talking about general anatomy is what is anatomy? So anatomy consists of two words. First is ana and second is tomy. This tomy means to cut. The actual meaning of tomy is to cut. Like you can see other words such as vasectomy, pubectomy. So the tomy here refers to the meaning cut, and ana means to see. So the whole word gives a specific meaning that is to see and then cut. That is anatomy. So where does this observation and cutting occurs? It occurs on the dead body, which is called as the cadaver. Anatomy is also referred to the science that deals with the structure of human body and its form on the basis of understanding function. So here basically the definition speaks that it tells us about the structures and forms that are present inside the body collectively. So this subject can be divided, cadaveric anatomy, which is gross anatomy, can be divided into two parts. First is the regional part and then is systematic part. In regional part, you will study the entire body, but which is divided into smaller parts, and you will be learning them independently. So first of all, if I talk about the regional anatomy, we'll be seeing that this structure, which is visible here, is the head. This is the whole human body standing in a anatomical position. I'll explain you what is anatomical position, but first move on to the regions. So the upper region that you can see here, that is head, and this head consists of two structures. First is the face, and second is the skull. Apart from this, below the head, there is a structure which is called as neck. Then you can see here, this is the upper limb. This is the thumb region, and here is the thorax region, which is also called as the chest. And the thorax region, below it, we have the abdominal region. And I'm drawing here a structure. You can look it carefully that it is dividing the thorax region and the abdominal region. What is this structure called? This structure is basically called as the diaphragm. The diaphragm. After that, you can appreciate this region. I am highlighting it with dotted part. That is the pelvis region, or you can call it a pelvic region. Below the pelvic region, you can appreciate this limb, that is the lower limb. Now, this was the parts of human body, regions of human body from the anterior surface. What is the anterior surface? The parts which are present at the front is called as the anterior part, and the parts which are present at the back side, they are called as the posterior part. So here in posterior parts, what we can appreciate is this upper structure that is called as the back, and below back, this region, it is informally called as the buttocks region, but in anatomical language, we will call it as gluteal region. Here is a joint present in the elbow region that is called as the elbow joint. Below the elbow joint, there is another joint which is called as the wrist joint. Below the wrist joint, we have a specific joint present in the lower limb, that is the popliteal joint or the knee joint. Popliteal is basically the fossa present there, and the knee joint is the correct word for that. Below the knee joint, we have the ankle joint, and that is all about the regional part that we will be studying here in this subject. Then we are moving on to the systemic anatomy. In systemic anatomy, the entire system will be studied. We will study the entire system. For example, the cardiovascular system. Here, the cardio means heart, and vascular means the blood vessels. Not only the heart, we'll be studying the blood vessels along with it as well. So it will work together as a whole system. That is what we'll be studying in this systemic anatomy. If you see in foreign medical graduates, majority of students will start with the systemic anatomy and then they will be moving on to the regional anatomy. So their core concepts and the basics of solving the puzzle of body gets very clear in this. After this cardiovascular system, we can appreciate other systems of human body as well. That is the respiratory system, which consists of two parts and located in the thorax region. Then there is digestive system, then nervous system, integumentary system, which consists of skin, then endocrine system and urogenital system. We'll be studying all this stuff systematically. Then we are moving on to the regions of upper limb and lower limb after studying this regional anatomy. Here you can appreciate that this is the shoulder joint. Below the shoulder joint and there is another joint that is called as the elbow joint. Between this shoulder joint and the elbow joint, you can appreciate between shoulder joint and elbow joint, you can see a structure that is called as the arm region. It is called as the upper arm region, or we can also call it as brachium. Below the elbow joint, you can appreciate another joint which is called as the wrist joint. This is elbow joint, this is the wrist joint. So between this part, these two joints, there is a part. This is called as the forearm, or you can call it as antebrachium. This is the brachium part. This is the antebrachium part. I will revise it for you once again. Here, the location which is present, this is called as the shoulder joint. This is the arm region. This is the elbow joint. This is the forearm region. This is the wrist joint. The region which is present between the shoulder joint and the elbow joint is called as the arm region or the brachium. And the region present between the elbow joint and the wrist is called as forearm or antebrachium. And below the wrist joint, you can see a structure. This is called as the hand. The same thing goes with lower limb as well. You will first appreciate the hip joint present, hip joint. Below the hip joint, you can appreciate the another joint, which is the knee joint, and the structure present between the hip joint and the knee joint. We will call it as the thigh region. The region present between the hip and the knee joint is thigh. And the another joint that we can appreciate below the knee joint is the ankle joint. And the region present between the knee joint and the ankle joint is basically called as the leg region. This is the leg. And whatever lies below the ankle joint, that is the foot. We have learned this regions of upper limb and lower limb. We have learned the systematic thing. We have learned the regional thing. Now we'll be moving on to the normal anatomical position. This normal anatomical position is also called as the standard anatomical position. So the position has specific nomenclature. If the person is standing in the specific nomenclature, hitting all the points, then you can say that the person is standing in a normal anatomical position. So what is the first point? The person should be standing upright. The person should stand like this. He should stand fully upright. Apart from this, the person should be looking straight. He should not be looking here, not here. He should be looking straight. The first thing, he should be standing upright. The second thing, he should be looking straight. The third thing which is involved, that the hand should be dropped and should be facing towards the observer, not like this. It should be facing like this towards the observer. So the upper limb should be hanging and the palm should be facing forward. And the last point, that the legs should be parallel to the toe region. If you fit all the five features, then we can say that we are standing in the normal anatomical position. So I'll revise it once again for you, that the person should be standing upright, the person should be looking straight, upper limb should be hanging and palm should be facing forward. Then the lower limb should be parallel to the toe. That is the normal anatomical position. You can appreciate the structures that is present here. These two guys are standing in the normal anatomical position. To the normal anatomical position, we will be moving on to the transverse section of upper limb. You can appreciate the structure, that this is the upper limb. Here is the shoulder joint. Here is the elbow joint. Here is the wrist joint. So now what we are doing basically, we are cutting this upper limb in a transverse section. So here's the dotted line that I have drawn. That this is the transverse section. And this transverse section, like imagine this is the pen. I have cut it transversely and I'm showing you the pen like this. I've cut it transversely and I'm showing you like this. So how you will see? You will just see a dot. You will see a circle here. So we will be going to appreciate all the structures in this circle present. What is the outer layer in this circle? This outer layer which is present, it is the skin. The skin is largest organ of the body. You should be remembering this is a very important point. Below the skin, you can see this is the yellow structure. I am also drawing this with the yellow color. This is called as the superficial fascia. The superficial fascia. And below the superficial fascia, you can see a structure that is the deep fascia. So, what does fascia mean? Fascia is a membrane-like sheet which is made up of loose connective tissue and adipose connective tissue. Basically, we will first see what is superficial fascia. In superficial fascia, this is lying under the skin, beneath the skin, and is very closer to the skin and not too deep inside the muscle. It is made up of basically loose areolar tissues and adipose connective tissue. This adipose connective tissues are basically made up of adipocytes. So this adipocytes will help in the storage of fats inside the body. Then the characteristics of this superficial fascia is that we can appreciate the three characteristics here. First is the it is thick and rich in fat, but only in a specific region, that is the breast and the buttocks region. In these two regions, you can see that this fat is thick and rich in superficial fascia. The second thing that we can see is the superficial fascia is thin and devoid of fat in some regions, such as scrotum, eyelid, and the penis. The fat present here is nothing, and the fascia, which is here, the superficial fascia, is very thin. Then the superficial fascia is extremely exceptionally high in the regions such as scalp, palm of the hand, and plantar region of foot, or you can say it as the sole of foot. So after seeing the characteristics, we will be seeing the function of superficial fascia. First function of superficial fascia is providing insulation. It will trap the body temperature, body heat inside the body to keep us warm, as the humans are homeostatic animals. They are meant to regulate their temperature, and the average body temperature should be at 37 degrees Celsius. So for insulating the temperature, if you went in cold environments such as 18 degrees, 19 degrees, still your body temperature should be conserved at 37 degrees Celsius. So this superficial fascia will basically help you to maintain this temperature. After that, the superficial fascia will also act as an reservoir for fat. It will keep the fat stored inside it. So whenever you are in the starving phase, the fat is basically broken down into smaller substances for releasing the ATP. After the superficial fascia, we will be learning the deep fascia. The deep fascia is a non-elastic, tough fibrous tissue layer. This consists of non-elastic and tough fibrous tissue and is rich in collagenous fiber. The site it is present below the superficial fascia and it envelops the muscles and gives the connectivity of the muscles to the organs. So what is present between the muscles and organs? This is the deep fascia that has been occurring there. So it envelops the muscles, forming a sheath, and it also encloses the neurovascular bundle. So, what is neurovascular bundle? The nerves and the blood vessels which are present inside the body, they consist of this neurovascular bundle, and this deep fascia will be surrounding them as an protective layer. So, after this deep fascia, you can appreciate this structure which is present between everything, that is the bone, and bone is connected with this skeletal muscles from upper side and from the lower side. Between these two skeletal muscles, you can appreciate this structure, this space which is called as the intermuscular space. What does this space consist of? This space consists of roof, floor, and it has some contents. So this acts as a triangle or fossa. This space will help passing the neurovascular bundles. It helps passing the fluids and everything from one part to another, from joint to joint. In the roof part, it consists of the deep fascia, the superficial fascia, and the skin. From lower side to upper side, we are moving from the deep fascia, the superficial fascia, and the skin. This is present in the upper part of the intermuscular space. On the floor part, you can appreciate the muscle fascia and bones. Then the contents which have been passing through this intermuscular space is neurovascular bundle, which is nerves and blood vessels such as artery and veins. Again, this neurovascular bundle is divided into two parts, which is the upper part, which is band. This is the mnemonic that you can remember that every muscle fibers, every part in the body has this sequence where the vessels will be there, then where the veins will be there, then the arteries will be there, and after that the nerves. You can appreciate the structure in the same sequence in the whole body, except for some regions I will be telling that. But this neurovascular bundles are separated with a septum that is called as the intermuscular septum, that is basically separating the space between the muscles, that is the intermuscular space, and it is separated by the intermuscular bundle, sorry, intermuscular septum, and the upper part consists of veins, arteries, and nerves, and the lower part also consists of veins, arteries, and nerves. So the all neurovascular bundles of our body has the same sequence that I have told you, but except in some regions. So what are the regions? This is the first intercostal space. The first intercostal space has a different sequence, that is NAV, nerve, artery, and vein. And same goes for the popliteal fossa. In popliteal fossa also, the sequence will be going in the same way, that is the nerve, arteries, and veins. In some regions, these neurovascular bundles are absent, that is called as the superficial posterior compartment of leg. This neurovascular bundle is completely absent there. And it is also neurovascular bundle in the abdominal region basically runs between the two layers, that is the internal abdominal oblique muscles and the transverse abdominal muscles. Don't get scared by listening this all words and the names. You will be learning this further when you will be starting the chapters, that is the abdomen. Don't be scared. And one part I forgot to tell you, the Hilton's law. The Hilton's law says that the nerve supplying the muscles also innervates the skin overlaying the muscles and the joint on which the muscles act. So the nerve which is supplying to the muscle, it will also supply to the skin present on the muscle, and it will also supply the joint of the muscle. This was all about the Hilton's law. And we have basically completed the whole session of General Anatomy Part 1. You will be studying this all in 7 parts. I'll be posting the timetable tomorrow, and you will get to know what to do and what not to do. That's it for today. See you in next lecture.